he was fearless with any opponent. And again, I think to seek the roots of this fearlessness, to seek the roots of this confidence is valuable for us today at a time when so much fear and anxiety has sort of gripped the human spirit. This is not an easy thing to acquire. I mean, and as I'll try to indicate in my talk, the fearlessness that Gandhi achieved was hard won. In fact, in his biography, it's an achievement because if you've how many of you saw the film, which was quite effective? All right. Well, by the way, for the rest of you, I would say it's certainly the best easy introduction to Gandhi. It's easily available. The film by Richard Attenborough called Gandhi, made in 1984. It's without question the best simple introduction to Gandhi and well worth seeing. But one of the things that is not mentioned in that particular film is the fact that when Gandhi trained as a lawyer and actually went into court for his very first case, he was petrified and literally tongue-tied. He had to leave the court in disgrace because he was commissioned by a client to defend him and just literally could not get the words out. So for someone like him to end up where he did was a sort of long trajectory, and a long trajectory of rigorous, relentless practice in nonviolence. Okay, having said that, I hope you'll excuse me if, at least in the next section, I give you perhaps, I mean, Danny prepared you for it. I mean, professors profess, I guess. So I'm going to give you a text of a lecture that I gave, and which has now been published, called Gandhi, Empire and a Culture of Peace. I'm just going to read a short section, but I do this deliberately because I do want to allow for maximum time for discussion, and I think if one is able to sort of express one's thoughts succinctly, we would save some time. So for the next 15 minutes or so, I'll read you portions of this and then come back to applying some of these ideas to the interreligious scene. So this particular section of the paper is called Gandhi's Moral Universe. Gandhi is a moralist through and through, and yet it is difficult to talk philosophically about his ethics. This is because Gandhi is fundamentally concerned with practice rather than with theory or abstract thought, and such philosophy as he used was meant to reveal its truth in the crucible of experience. Hence the subtitle of his famous autobiography, The Story of My Experiments in Truth. The experiments refer to the fact that the truth of concepts, values, and ideals is fulfilled only in practice. Prior to that practical fulfillment, they remain spectral and abstract. Furthermore, Gandhi's ethics are inextricably tied up with his religion, which itself is unconventional. Though an avowed Hindu, he was a Hindu in a philosophical rather than a sectarian sense, and there was much Hindu ritual and practice that he subjected to critique. In fact, he lost his life as a result of this critique because the person who killed him was a Hindu who felt that Gandhi had betrayed Hinduism. In accordance with this religio-philosophical ideal, his religion could be described as the life of the self, that is with a small s, attempting to realize itself as S with a large S, and thus achieving moksha or spiritual liberation. But karma yogi that he was, self-realization had to be achieved through work in the world and the details of daily life rather than through renunciation of the world. This was a long-standing tradition in India where people seeking liberation or renunciation felt that they had to leave the world. Gandhi was one of the very strong proponents of saying that it was not renunciation of action, but renunciation in action that was the goal. Gandhi's own ethics have a decidedly spiritual cast, but because he takes pains to express them in a neutral philosophical manner, he intends them to have general validity. Thus, when he refers from affirming thus when he switches from affirming that God is truth to saying that truth is God, his rationale is that the latter, that is, truth is God, is a more general statement which has resonance even for unbelievers. This is a quote from Gandhi. God is truth, but God is many other things also. That is why I prefer to say that truth is God. You may simply worship what you find to be the truth within yourself, for truth is known relatively. Only remember that truth is one of the many qualities that we name in reference to God. But truth is the living embodiment of God. It is the only life, and I identify truth, that is the truth, divine truth, with the fullest life. And that is how it becomes a concrete thing. For God is his whole creation, the whole existence, and service of all that exists. End of quote. That statement is a testament to Gandhi's inner sense of tolerance and inclusiveness, in that he believes that his ideals of truth and nonviolence are accessible even to those who do not share his particular religion. Truth for Gandhi is not merely or even primarily the property of statements, though Gandhi does not deny the importance of factual truth or the correspondence between propositions and states of affairs in the world that either confirm or refute them. Rather, his multifaceted notion of truth emphasizes ontological, moral, and existential aspects. Ontologically, that is, in terms of how we see reality, satya is derived from sat, the self-existent essence, both the is and the ought of reality. It was this derivation that led Gandhi often to say, nothing exists in reality except truth. Everything else is illusion. Beyond the illusory temporary flux of phenomena lies the eternal truth, what Gandhi also called absolute truth. We humans, however, with our finite capacities, can have access only to relative truth, an assertion Gandhi uses to justify his humility and tolerance. All our perceptions of truth are inevitably partial, and therefore claims of absoluteness are both unwarranted and dangerous. While the ontological aspect of truth points to a more objective notion, the moral and existential aspects move in the direction of a more subjective, almost Kierkegaardian notion of truth as subjectivity, the deeply personal intuition of truth which can be experienced only through action. Raghavan Iyer brings out the duality between the subjective and objective aspects of truth. I quote Iyer. Gandhi could not regard truth either as solely the object of reason or simply the product of human decision. For him, truth is nothing less than the splendor of reality and cannot be gained without an understanding of the eternal law of truth. But when it is perceived and seized, it must be acted upon. In this sense, truth must be both discovered and created, both found and enacted. In this activist view of truth, it is not enough for thought to be based upon truth. The life of the thinker must express it, must represent it visibly in his actions. End of quote. As already intimated, the idea of truth for Gandhi found its fullest expression in the field of politics, which in accordance with his moral outlook, he regarded as the arena for doing good on the largest possible scale. The idea that Gandhi used to encapsulate this moral conception of politics was satyagraha. This was conceived as a practical experiment to introduce truth and nonviolence into the political field. Gandhi adopted this idea early in his political career when he chose satyagraha as the name for his resistance movement against the repressive South African government. Explaining his decision, Gandhi wrote, quote, truth, that is satya, implies love and firmness. He's taking apart the two roots of satyagraha. Love and firmness as agraha.